Joyce, I've never been much into church, but long to have my own relationship with God. I feel He doesn't hear me or isn't listening. There are billions of people on earth. Can He hear me, see my pain and sorrow as I seek Him, or does He not even exist? I'm at a crossroads, but I don't want to give up.
Well, obviously, God is everywhere all the time, and He definitely hears us even when we're not praying according to His will. He still hears us. But 1 John 5 says that when we ask according to God's will, He hears us, and we know with absolute and settled assurance that we have given to us the things that we've asked for. But there's nothing in there about when they manifest. And I love this statement that a delay from God is not a denial. Actually, when we're not getting what we want as quick as we think we should have it, that's when really our faith is being tested and when we're growing. Now, I realize that this is somebody who's looking to know that God is real. And so they're wanting God to do something in their circumstances to prove that He's there. Well, I can't say that God never does that, but He certainly doesn't always do it, because faith is a substance of things that we hope for, the evidence of things that we do not see. So I would like to encourage Jesse to look to his heart instead of his circumstances. And I mean, really, how can you not believe that God is real? I mean, to me, it would take more faith to believe that God is not real than to believe that He is. How could we possibly even look at the way our own bodies function and are put together and just how amazing they are and think that all just kind of sort of happened one day? And so believing in God is the basic foundation to anyone having a good life. You know, now I don't believe that God is going to give us things that are not according to His will. So I don't know what Jesse's asking for. If he's asking for something that's not right, then God's not going to give it to him. And I think when you have a deep enough relationship with God, and it, took me a few years to get to this, but I've kind of come to the point where I believe that if God doesn't give me what I'm asking for, it's not because He's holding out on me and wanting to make me miserable. I believe it's because He has something better in mind, and I'm just not wise enough to know how to ask for that better thing yet.
Yeah, it's often mercy, isn't it?
So whether God gives me what I want or He doesn't give me what I want, God is still good, and He has our best interest in mind, and things will come out right in the end.
And as I read this question from Jesse, it says, I long to have my own relationship with God. So it seems like the Holy Spirit is wooing and working there, that there is something that is happening, or that statement wouldn't even mean anything.
Well, and to be honest, the thing for him to go after is not so much whatever it is that he wants to see God do, but pursuing that relationship.
Yeah.
Because when your relationship with Him is right, then you're able to trust Him to do what's right at the right time. So we want to make sure that we seek God's face and not His hand, to seek to know Him and not just what He can do for us. He'll get there.